Podtacular, the unofficial Halo Universe podcast, presents episode 573, Three Scarabs, recorded live on March 14th, 2017. Hello everyone, welcome to Podtacular, the unofficial Halo Universe podcast. I am your host, Duststorm.
And I'm your co-host, Godzilla T.
And it is another week of Halo Wars 2 goodness, another week of not so much Halo news, actually. Looking up all the stuff that could possibly be talked about today, there really isn't much. I even scounged around on some community websites and there wasn't much around there either.
Pretty quiet week.
Yeah, it's kind of a lull, especially with the changeover for daylight savings for those of us in the States, for the select states that actually observes daylight savings time.
I actually lucked out on that one.
Oh, how so?
I got an extra day to adjust.
Oh, nice. So did my girlfriend.
And I went from having to be at work at 7 o'clock in the morning to not having to be there until 9 o'clock. So, hey, bonus for me.
Nice. Yeah, my girlfriend took off for Monday, and I still had to go in. It was rough. I went to bed early enough the night before, but it was still rough getting up an hour earlier.
Yeah, it does mess with you.
Yeah. Then being cooped up all day because of the ice, that hasn't helped either.
Well, did you have a productive day?
It was kind of productive. As far as work concerned, it was a little bit all over the place. It was kind of easy going until about 10 o'clock, and then I started getting phone calls out the wazoo. And then...
It's broke!
It need fixing. We need help. I can't help much because I stuck at home. It was an alright day.
That's
I know
good.
Many people probably can't relate, but with the ability to telework, sometimes there's days where after I'm done with work, I don't feel like I'm getting away from work or that I'm done and can do something else because it still feels like I'm in that same work environment. So that kind of sucked. That was the kind of day I had.
You feel there's something else you should be doing.
Yeah. And my roommate can't telework for his stuff, so he got off and he was cleaning all day and being productive, and I'm like, I wish I could have done that. Alas, I got stuck with
Yes, because I'd much rather clean than go to work.
Cleaning can be therapeutic sometimes, though. At least for me, it can be.
Well, in some cases, it can be terrifying, too.
Well, this is true. That's also very true. But anyways, we're here to talk about Halo, not how my day went. We can talk about how my yesterday went, because I finally finished the campaign.
Yay!
Yay! Only took me 3 weeks since the game came out. Better late than never, right?
At least you finished it.
I did. And I had quite a few people to watch me conquer through the last 2 missions of the campaign last night. So thank you guys for watching. It was nice having the support. And I actually finished the last 2 missions pretty, I wouldn't say necessarily easily, because for me it's kind of a hard game, but I did pretty well actually for the last 2 missions. The second to last one, the Halo one, I had to replay from my last playthrough, but once I started with that, Laird gave me some helpful tips that I used, which came in very handy. And then the last mission, with having unlimited resources, I just had fun with that.
Yeah, it's nice when you have that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So just a heads up for anyone listening, this is going to be a spoiler-filled show. So if you haven't finished the campaign yet, or if you don't want to be
spoiled,
you might want to hold off on this episode until you finish the campaign. Otherwise, you have been warned. Proceed at your own risk. So at the very end, I know there's some people that were in the stream now, I think. I know Bobby was there. Don't know if Toast was there, and it doesn't look like Laird showed up here to the stream yet, but at the very end where the 3 Scarabs showed up, I'm like, oh, there's a Scarab, I can do this. And then there's another one, like, oh, there's 2 Scarabs. And it's like, oh, there's 3 Scarabs. Crap! I had 4 Nighthawks, or Nightingales, on my Condor. Once I got the Condor, I put all my Nightingales on that, and I put them to a control group, and I just had them go around to all the four corners of the entryways. And then when those Scarabs came, I'm just like, yeah, let's just focus on one at a time, and then we'll progress as we go along. But it was a lot of fun. That last mission was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm thinking that part of the last mission is going to be a pain on Legendary.
Oh, geez. Laird finished the game on Legendary solo.
Yeah, I know. I saw that.
I'm like, how? I'm just not the RTS player that other people are. And that's okay. At least I finished on normal. I can be proud of the fact that I finished solo on normal. Now I just have to go get the rest of the bonus objectives and par times and par scores and all that fun stuff.
Oh, yeah.
I did unlock all the Phoenix logs, though, except for the multiplayer map stuff, because I haven't touched multiplayer yet. So at least I got all of those. So I ran a poll on the Podtacular Twitter account when I went live yesterday. I had three options for whether or not I would finish the campaign. So I had yes, absolutely, haha, no, and he's not done yet. And out of 21 votes, 52%, more than half of the votes were a question of I was not done yet. I appreciate the encouragement, everybody. Thanks for that.
Way for the supporting community there.
I know. And then, yes, absolutely, was 19%. So, four votes for yes, I would finish it.
Well, some people had confidence in you.
Some people did. Others not so much. But it's okay. I conquered. I beat the game. It was fun. And then I totally called out the last cutscene of the campaign. I totally called it when I was going through my playthrough. Whenever Anders said, why are we stopping? I'm like, Cortana. Bobby can attest to that. I said Cortana. And sure enough, freaking Guardian shows up.
Surprise!
Does bring some questions into play, though.
Mm-hmm.
It's like that Halo.
They did say they were bringing Halo Wars into the current universe. So to not plug the current
literally
game line, to not plug the current storyline would be, I would have been disappointed if they didn't.
Yeah. It was almost obvious, though, that once there was the Halo brought into it, you could start to see where it would probably get pulled into the rest of the first-person shooter story with all the, especially with the last cutscene from Halo 5 Guardians and the nice little Halo ring.
Well, yeah, as soon as they mentioned the Halo ring the first time, I knew what part of the ending was going to be.
You probably just didn't know that you were going to see a Guardian at the end.
I did not think I was going to see a Guardian, no.
So, yeah, we'll talk about the rest of that here in a minute. We have a couple of news things to cover before we dive into our discussions for tonight, which will be the campaign, since I finally finished and we're open to discuss it now. So, a little bit of an update on the arena stuff happening for this season. We discussed last week some of the changes that are coming with the radar, stuff that they've done with reducing the auto aim for the hip fire shooting for the sniper rifle and the non-charged exploding parts of the plasma caster. But there's a couple of additional things that they added for the update that they posted out a few days ago on the 10th. And the only new thing that was in there that we hadn't really covered before is just the maps that are in the Proving Grounds playlist, which that's the playlist that contains the new radar type of thing. But other than that, we haven't really received too much new stuff as far as news officially. That was the only thing that got posted between last week and today. So if you need a refresher on what's going on with matchmaking for this season or this month, then you can check out our last podcast when we talked about all that stuff, or you can head on over to Halo Waypoint and check out the blog that Grim posted on all the matchmaking update stuff.
I can truly say I do not like the new radar.
Have you played Proving Grounds?
Yes. We actually played a couple of games last Friday, and I truly do not like the radar.
So it's competitive focused.
No, at the point that it is, you might as well not have it. I mean, honestly, you might as well just turn it off. It has, in my game style or my play style, it has absolutely no use.
So I think that this is geared more towards professional because there's been a lot of pros or people that are heavily invested into the pro scene of Halo that are used to not having radar at all or having just ally only radar. So I think this is a good compromise or a good middle ground where we'll be able to see competitive enter in that familiar state that everyone's been looking for. And I watched a little bit of Golden Boy's stream today when he was on Twitch. And from a competitive standpoint, it seemed to actually work pretty well.
From what I've seen, they might as well just turn it off. Because honestly, in my opinion, and granted, I am not a pro player, it has no value to a pro player. It gives you no additional information that a player of that level shouldn't already be getting from the surroundings. And I'm serious about that. You know, there are audio cues for all the Spartan abilities. So having the enemy light up when they use one, most of the top players are going to know that it's coming anyway.
Fair point.
You know, I know that I made the comment last time that the radar range was too short, which it is, but I'm not as attuned to listening for those audio cues as somebody that plays it professionally. When it's your job to play the game, you tend to pay a lot more attention to details. But with the current layout of the radar, I honestly don't see how it can be of any use to a pro player at all, other than to tell you where your friends are. But I mean, you've got
sometimes
tags
that
for
helps.
that. Their name's above their head.
But that's only if they're in front of you.
Well, if they're more than 25 meters away from you, they're not on your radar either.
Yeah, but there's quite a few times, and most of the time in competitive, you're pretty close to another teammate.
And you would be aware of where they are anyway without the radar because they talk to each other. Yeah, I understand what they're trying to do, but honestly, I really hope that radar does not make it into regular matchmaking in any playlist.
I don't see them changing the radar in the social playlists.
No, even the ranked playlists, because it's like the bad man in the van tempting you with candy.
Okay.
Here, let's give you a little bit of information and then you can figure the rest out. No, I honestly, after the first game, I totally quit using the radar. I started playing like I was playing SWAT.
I think we'll have to see how the competitive players take advantage of it and roll with it.
I mean, it definitely gives an advantage in the fact that they don't have to crouch to sneak around, so they can traverse the map faster or sneak up on people faster. But that was kind of the whole point behind crouch walking. You got the stealth, but you sacrificed mobility. Well, now you have the stealth and you don't sacrifice anything.
Well, you can still hear footsteps.
Well, true.
If you're paying that close attention.
Well, the trick is knowing when it's friendly footsteps and when it's not.
Well, that's why you have radar there to tell you it's friendly.
You know, like I said, it doesn't seem to be, in my opinion, very useful. Now, the pros may see it differently. You know, I play with a headset and I do play with the volume up so I can hear footsteps, but most times the footsteps I hear are friendly footsteps. I don't hear the enemy footsteps. And I don't know if it's a feature in Halo 5 because I haven't actually tested it or found anything on it, but like in Halo 4, there was a difference between friendly footsteps and enemy footsteps.
We'll have to see how it turns out, see what the pros say. And I want to jump into it at some point and see what it feels like with that radar. But hopefully we'll get some good feedback from the pros whenever we're at Worlds and see what they think about it. I did get a chance to see what Golden Boy thought about it when I was watching his stream. I didn't stick around long enough to see if he commented on what he thought of it. We'll come back around to it, and hopefully we'll have some people on to discuss it a little bit later date. Something else in the arena update is that they're removing the snipers ranked playlist. because of low population. It's not going to be gone forever, but with the low population, it's something that they've decided it's time to pull it out of the rotation. So bye-bye ranked snipers. It is nice knowing that I didn't play you because I'm not a great sniper. I don't know.
Yeah, that's definitely one playlist I never went into.
Yeah, I stick with SWAT and fun stuff because I am mostly stuck to dailies at this point. Which I wish I had more time to play, honestly did. And I do want to get better, a little bit more competitively and start playing with our competitive team again. I need to find the time to do that, or I need to make the time at least.
It's all scheduling properly.
Yes, which is very hard right now. Very difficult. Okay, so that was the arena update. There was another video that popped out recently with regards to Project Hagar. And there is a YouTube channel, P2P Online. That's PTOP Online. That's the YouTube channel. And he posted a full run-through of what is called the Besiege mode, which is basically generator defense combined with tower defense. And it looks pretty fun. I'm surprised to see how much of the game, even though it was a prototype still, was pretty well fleshed out. I don't know if you got a chance to watch it, GT. You probably didn't.
No.
Yeah, that was a late edition, I know. But there's a lot of cool things watching the video that you could do with building turrets, building bridges and walls, kind of like a cross between, and this is the game that kind of comes to mind, but Orcs Must Die, with how you set up a lot of the defenses, and it's kind of like a tower defense game. And you have the traditional Halo firefight type mode where you have waves of enemies coming in. So it was a nice combination of that, and then you had 3 generators you had to defend from taking damage. He was running that in a single player mode. I don't know if that would be a multiplayer enabled mode, but it was just kind of cool to see a fully untouched video run through of that. And it seems like the community feedback behind it is, we wish this would have been an actual thing.
I think it would have had some success.
With how popular the Lego games are, I don't see how it would not have been a success.
It kind of makes you wonder how many kids or how many adults would be playing it.
I would be.
I mean, I think it would have been a good entry into the Halo universe for, smaller children. Not necessarily like the age group that most Lego games are targeted to, but maybe a little bit older game, like a preteen or something like that. I don't know that I'd want a 5-year-old playing this, but, it's personal preference. But, I'm sure my parents wouldn't have had a problem with me playing the game when I was 5, but it didn't exist. So,
and everyone's kid's different at different ages. We had our parenting podcast, 2 years ago now?
Yeah.
It's been a while. And it just depends on where your child's at a stage of life, and if the parents willing to let their kids play on that kind of game or platform at a certain age if they feel it's ready. And it's just a lot of factors to account for. I think for my kids, if I ever have any, it would be something that it would start out with playing with them and making sure that they understand what they're doing and what's going on. And probably wouldn't start till like 7 or 8, but that's just kind of a guess at this point.
Like I said, it's, I can understand why Lego themselves wouldn't produce the game, because they do try to produce a game that's friendly for all ages. And this could be taken the wrong way, to, a younger child. It would definitely be a game that would need to be played with parental supervision, because it's a violent game, but it would be cool if they actually would put this up and actually publish it.
Maybe some future title down the road will be something like this. Some kind of kid-friendly, maybe more cartoony Lego block, or Lego Mega Blocks, or I guess Mega Constructs now type of a game. We'll see. If there's enough demand for it, I have a feeling that 343 could pursue a game like this again.
Possibly. Like it, like they said, this was just kind of a testing it out type deal.
And now that we've seen footage, everyone's like, oh, we wish we'd have had it. Come on, 343. So
Why didn't you make this?
Well, now 343 knows that there is an interest for these kinds of games that's not just the straight up first person shooter, high quality AAA title. So it could be something that they look into. And it is a little bit more kid friendly. So there's that possibility. We'll just have to wait and see. The last thing, and I didn't put this in the show notes, GT. I forgot about it before we started, but PAX East happened this past weekend, and there was the Halo Wars 2 panel this past weekend, and I got some reports from someone who was there, Cowboy Duke on Xbox Live. He sent me a narrative of what happened during the panel, and they showed off the new leader that's going to be part of the first DLC that is coming. Her name is Morgan Kinsanso, and she is actually part of the Insurrectionists, which is a little different in the grand scheme of Halo. But her abilities are a napalm strike, and the damage caused by her units or her powers are a lot more area of effect.
Fire.
I like fire. Napalm.
Lots of fire.
Lots and lots of fire. And I forget, that's going to be coming out. Yeah, that'll be coming out this month. Was it the third Wednesday of every month?
No, wait a minute.
Is it the third Wednesday or third? Is it the third Wednesday?
I thought they said Wednesday.
Okay, so yeah, it would be next.
Well, if they do that right, then tomorrow is the third Wednesday.
First third Wednesday of a full week? I don't know.
Yeah, it's probably going to be the 22nd. But you never know. It might show up tomorrow.
I would have thought 343 would have put something out on official social media if it was going to come out tomorrow. So I'm thinking it's probably going to be next week.
Yeah, probably. I think the way things are looking, it looks like the add-on leaders are going to be highly specialized. Like with this leader, she's an up-close personal. Yeah, she's a close-in fighter.
Close range.
Yeah, close range. The rest of the leaders that are currently in the game, they have a good mix between close in, range, and like air. They're pretty balanced across the board when it comes to attack and defend. But this new leader, she's really weak against air.
Yeah, that's kind of my play style, though. Unfortunately, and this is how I play Halo first-person shooter style too. I'm a very close and personal, in-your-face type of player.
Well, see, that's just it. With this leader, it's just right off the bat, you see who you're playing against. Well, you know that if you're playing against this particular leader, you need to go. You need to build air. Where the other leaders, you kind of got to figure out what they're building before. Well, you kind of need to cover the gambit.
That's why I play with others, or that's why I will want to play with others.
The reason I'm bringing this up is I think they might be these DLC leaders. They might be kind of keying them up to be played on a team, not necessarily solo.
Which makes sense. The whole strategy and supporting gameplay.
Right.
It makes sense to me.
Yeah, I don't know if this is going to be true for all the leaders, but when you get leaders that are highly specialized in a certain attack defense mode, then you really are setting it up for team play.
In a way, though, at least with Blitz, it seems to be a lot more focused on that kind of play. I know some of the other game modes probably rely a little bit differently, especially if you're doing 1-on-1 or 2v2, where you need to have a good, well-rounded team. But then again, I'm not that much of an RTS player, so I could be just talking out.
Well, it just seems to me that if they follow the current, what they're currently doing, it looks like they might be setting up the DLC leaders to be played in a 2v2 or a 3v3.
I can see that
instead of a 1v1 scenario. We'll see next month. We'll see if it is if the next leader is just as specialized as this one.
If we get a leader next month, I don't think we're necessarily supposed to get a leader every month.
Oh, well, then next leader that we get then.
Either way, though. So, yeah, her specialties are area of effects and damage over time with flame or incendiary type stuff. And Cowboy also says that the ODST drop that you get, also, those ODSTs have flamethrowers, and wherever they drop, you know how there's normally like damage that's dealt locally. That's fire damage.
Their drop pods do a larger AoE when they hit.
That's a lot of fun. They also talked about how they wrote the story and how they came up with some of the campaign concepts for Halo Wars 2. For example, one of the things that they touched on was how the units were all nice and upgraded, which you always have to allow a little bit of creative freedom whenever a developer goes from one generation of a game to another generation of a game, because they don't want to just copy paste and make everything look like the previous graphical fidelity versions of themselves. So there's obviously visual upgrades to make the game look a little bit newer, more fresh. And when you have the visual upgrades and the graphical power to do that, you want to take advantage of that. So there's a little bit of liberty that they took with that. And then another part that Cowboy kind of mentioned was the whole visual elements that you see, the nice holograms and whatnot. They kind of ruled that to Isabel having knowledge or software that could upgrade those kinds of systems for the Spirit of Fire, which is why it looks all nice and new and shiny in some of the newer stuff.
Only one problem with that description. They had the holograms and stuff before they had Isabel.
Yep, I was thinking the exact same thing.
But I mean, I understand what they were trying to say there, and they did a really good job of paying homage to the original Halo Wars units, but still bringing them up to par as far as graphically for this game. The Warthog, it looks like a Warthog. It looks enough like the original Warthog that I don't have a problem with it. Don't get me wrong, there are certain units like the Cyclops that look totally different, but given what they had for assets for the original Halo Wars, there just wasn't the room for the detail that the new Cyclopses have. But the classic units, the Vulture, the Hornet, the Warthog, the Tank or Scorpion, they all look like they're basically just more detailed versions of the first game. The Grizzlies, on the other hand, they look like they pay homage to the original, but they are changed significantly. Same with the Cyclopses. In the original game, there was a minor difference in size between a Tank and a Scorpion. Now there is a major difference in the size between a Tank and a Scorpion in, physical size and damage output.
I haven't had a chance to really go into that kind of detail and look, but I'll take your word for it.
Well, Grizzly now, before it was a little bit bigger. I mean, it was just enough that you could see that it was a little bit bigger. Now it's like 1.5 Scorpions. It's a major difference.
Are you saying that they were both bigger than their Halo Wars counterparts?
Well, no, I mean, to scale, they probably are the same. Well, the Scorpion is the same size. The other one, the Grizzly in the first Halo Wars, when you got the Grizzly upgrade, you got, the second barrel, and the model grew just a little bit. It was maybe the width of a wheel. In this game, it's half a tank bigger than the Scorpion. There's a significant size difference.
Gotcha.
But with the fidelity, they're also a lot more detailed as well. I'm not complaining about it. I love it. It looks great. They did the same thing with the Banished. They took the units that we knew and brutified them, but you can still see that original unit there. Well, at least for the units that aren't new.
Right. Okay. I have to go through and look at some of those differences. But yeah, they tried to stick to as much as possible the original style of the units and graphics and all that stuff, which is nice to see that they had that as kind of a focus.
The nice thing is they they took in mind that the Spirit of Fire has been lost for 28 years. They haven't had any technological updates in those 28 years. So they're going to have obsolete tech. And they took that and ran with it. And it looks awesome.
They did a really good job with the graphic fidelity of it. I think it looks fantastic. A couple other things from the panel is there's still no word if they're going to add another Blitz map. It's something that they hadn't had planned. It's something that they're not committing to doing yet, but it's not out of the realm of possibility if there's enough of a demand for it. So no new Blitz map.
So get out there and play Blitz so we can get a new map.
Oh, play Blitz and give feedback. Do both things. And that was most of the stuff that Cowboy Duke sent over. Mostly trying to keep the units as much to their original form as possible. A little bit of explanation on some of the new stuff that they did with Halo Wars 2 and explaining how that happened, and then the new leader. All good stuff there. But now it's time to talk about the campaign for Halo Wars 2. So, is it just me, or did the campaign seem a little lackluster in terms of the amount of story that we got compared to the original Halo Wars game? Because I felt like the original Halo Wars game felt a lot more involved, and there was significantly more to the game than this game. It feels that way, at least.
Well, that could be more illusion than you think. Because in the original game, it was a totally new story. We're hearing about the Spirit of Fire. Their story started 20 years before the first Halo game, Halo CE, before the Fall of Reach book. This was just a totally new area that the original Halo Wars explored. Could they have done better on the Halo Wars 2 story? Yes. But I understand that they were trying to walk a very fine line. They wanted the new person that picked up Halo Wars to understand the story and maybe inspire them to dig deeper into the story with the logs and to start looking at the outside fiction. I think they did a pretty good job on telling the story they wanted to tell. The story is not done yet, though. We have the extended campaign. So this segment of the Spirit of Fire story isn't quite done yet. So overall, and I don't know where they're going to take it. Got kind of an idea, but I don't know exactly where they're going to take it. They could have done a little bit more. They probably could have brought in a little bit more detail, but they were really trying hard not to reference anything that was already out there, to the point where the player would be like, who? Kind of like they didn't do a good job of explaining the didact. If this is an example of what they're quoting a simpler story, I'm actually reasonably okay with it. Yes, do I want more story? Of course. I always want more story. But for the average player, the guy that just picks up the game because it's a known name and doesn't really have a lot of time invested in the Halo universe, I think it's a good game. And I think it's a really good story for that person. For lore nuts, it's not a good story because it doesn't have near the information in it that we want.
I get that, but just from and I know they're trying to walk a fine line with trying to bring the Spirit of Fire into the modern day universe. Just trying to make an observation here that the game that we had in Halo Wars, the original Halo Wars, just seems like it was a lot more in depth, and that we got quite a few more cutscenes in that game than we did in this game.
Oh, yeah. We had a cutscene between every level or every other level or something like that.
Yeah. And this one we only had 7.
The difference is I do agree with you, Dust. The original Halo Wars story, the first Halo Wars, was a much broader story, but it was also introducing a brand new cast of characters. With the exception of some of the Spartans that had been introduced in some of the extended lore. So it's gonna feel a lot more Well, it's going to be a bigger story than a sequel is going to be, because all these characters have already been introduced. So, there's not that need to explain the characters as much as there is in a first game.
Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't think about that, and the fact that we already know a lot about the environment that we're playing on, whereas the first game, there was a lot of explaining on what was going on. So I guess that makes sense.
There was a lot of new places that they were going, and I think they did a good job of explaining the arc without just overwhelming people with information to the point where they're like, it's too much. So I think they struck a good balance between giving a good story that pretty much anybody can sit down, play through the game and enjoy, and giving us lore nuts enough tidbits to dig up on, to dig into, to keep us somewhat satisfied.
And the Phoenix Logs did a pretty good job of that.
Yeah, I've only read a few of them. I actually need to sit down and read all of them. I've heard people say it was a crap story, and that's your opinion. I enjoyed the story. And for the first time, I enjoyed the cliffhanger.
It was a well done cliffhanger. I mean, you could see it coming, but it was still pretty well done.
It was done a lot better than it was done in Halo 2. That one just kind of pissed me off.
That one pissed everybody off, apparently. See, I had the luxury of when I really started getting into Halo 3 was already out.
Yeah, I didn't.
So I had the luxury of not being frustrated.
I got Halo 2 on release day. And by the end of the day, I had completed campaign and was like, what?
I heard a lot of people were like that.
Oh, it was, there was a stink there for a while. It's a good thing we didn't have social media.
There was MySpace.
It was nowhere near as prevalent as it is now.
Fair enough.
If they would have done that nowadays, if Bungie would have released Halo 2 this year, I can't even think of the hundreds of thousands of millions of tweets they would be getting.
Like, let's test
they
that
would
theory.
have to turn off.
Everyone act as Halo 2 just came out.
And tweet Bungie.
Right. They'll be like, what? Why are we getting all these tweets from a game that's 10 years old?
I think they did a really good job on the story. Was it enough story for me? No, but it was a good story. It's got me interested in the extended campaign, really wanting to see what this next storyline is going to be and where they're going to take it and how it ties into Halo 6.
Is it supposed to tie into Halo 6? Because I thought...
Oh, it already ties into Halo 6.
No, I mean the DLC. I thought the DLC that's coming up was...
Well, it's the continued occupation. It's the continued occupation of the Spirit of Fire and the Ark. Now, your main contact, I think, is going to be the new leader you're getting. The way it sounds like, it's going to be like a Spartan Ops type deal. So you won't be interacting with Cutter. You probably won't be interacting with Cutter and Isabel. You'll be interacting with, what was her name? Kinsingo?
Morgan is her first name.
Or Morgan?
Kinsano is her last name.
Kinsano. That's it. With Morgan, she's probably going to take the place of our favorite Sarah Palmer and, be directing these additional missions. But they did a really good job with Spartan Ops into tying it into kind of the natural progression of, in that case, the Infinity's involvement in that Forerunner world.
Yeah, it was, for Halo 4, a natural extension of the game, which was really nice.
But with the current ending of Halo Wars, yeah, I think it's going to heavily point in the direction of Halo 6. There'll be stuff in there that will be finished out in Halo 6. Let's put it that way. I think a lot of it's going to be still chasing down Atriox on the Ark.
Well, with that last cutscene, the fight on the Ark is not done.
No, the fight on the Ark is not done. But I do think there'll be lead into the next game.
Yes,
And we
that would be
probably
nice.
won't even realize it until the game launches or gets close to launch and they start teasing it.
Well, and with the Halo out of the picture now, they've kind of kept that separation between the first-person shooter games and the RTS games with the closed portal. And it would be interesting to see if, like, the last DLC that comes out for Halo Wars 2 opens the portal, and then the timelines merge.
Or they're able to find Anders or something like that.
Well, yeah, there's a couple of different outcomes for that situation. We'll have to see what comes out of it.
Yeah, that's going to be a wait and see type deal.
I wonder also what other, because I'm assuming it's not just her on the Halo. I'm assuming there's probably some other units that were still left behind there. I mean, it seemed like they made it pretty clear that all the UNSC units there, but do you think there's still some Banished left on that Halo?
Could be. Well, I don't know. With the way it ended, I don't think so. But they do have a Guardian to deal with. Oh.
Yeah, but that's pretty, like, we know what she's dealing with. We know we're not going to see that until Halo 6. That's pretty definite.
There's a lot of things that there's a lot of ways they could take it. A lot of it, I think, a lot of the extended DLC is probably going to be still the Banished, because there's still story to tell with the Banished. And I hope that they do a better job with the Banished than they did with Julam Dama.
Yeah. Mistakes were made. I have a feeling they'll probably handle this pretty well.
Yeah. Julam Dama had the potential of being a really good enemy.
And then they just threw him to the wind.
I keep wanting to call him Tartarus. He's not Tartarus.
Decimus?
Yeah. No. Atriox.
Okay.
Atriox is a worthy opponent for the shooter games. It would be nice if they worked him into Halo 6. I don't think they will, but it would be kind of neat.
Depending on what they do with the DLC, it sounds like they could tie it into the first-person shooter list of lineup of games. But I think kind of we need to wait to see what happens with the DLC until then. It could be something that this may be kind of a little bit isolated or not. But one of the indicators that might lean towards not is if you read through the Phoenix logs, you'll see that Oni has been tracking Atriox since 2550. So 2 years before the events of Halo, Oni's been tracking Atriox.
As Isabel says, at the Covenant's height, they couldn't contain Atriox. This is a brute that knows how to be a major pain in the... I do hope that they don't just kill him off at the end of the DLC for Halo Wars 2 or capture him or something like that. I would like to see him play a part in future Halo games. Maybe not the shooters, but I would like to see him play a part in future Halo games. I don't know that it would make sense for him to side with Cortana, but that could be a possibility.
With all the resistance that the Phoenix logs and the cutscenes seem to have indicated that he's put up with on the Covenant, it doesn't seem like he's going to easily ally himself or submit himself to another power.
But he's also not stupid.
Right.
Cortana has the power to make him disappear. Granted, yes, he's very stubborn and he has fought for everything that he has. But and I'm not saying be controlled by, but ally with Cortana.
I think that depends on where he gets introduced to Cortana and how, because it doesn't seem like, and I know they're trying to keep Halo Wars 2 isolated from the games, but there doesn't really seem to be any indication that he is aware of what's going on with Cortana.
I just don't want Atriox's story to just end, with with Halo Wars 2. I want to see that more. I want to see him more.
They're building him up to be quite the adversary. But then again, I mean, there hasn't been Flood in a while, and I know people will want to see Flood return for Halo. I feel like that's going to be the specific timing for the Flood. I can understand why you want to keep that at a distance for a while. You probably want to. They'll probably bring it in at a time where it's like there is another great rise of conflict, or there's kind of like an alliance, and then bam, there's Flood again. It's like, dang it, really? Like, it'll be some time where it's just like, this is the worst thing that could happen right now. And it's just going to happen. It's like, yep, called it.
Like with all the AI taking over the universe?
Yeah. Ooh, that'd be interesting. The whole mendicant bias and the flood again. Ooh. Oh, that'd be cool. Should we call it here, where the flood's going to come back and it's going to be another logic plague?
Well, it could be. I mean, the logic plague is definitely a possibility.
Well, I mean, Gravemind had access to Cortana for, what was it, a few weeks, a couple months on High Charity.
Well, at the level of mendicant bias, though, I'm not sure that he would ally himself with the flood again.
Wait, what? Wait, I wasn't trying to associate flood with Atriox.
No, I'm talking about mendicant bias.
Oh,
you
gotcha.
mentioned him.
Okay. Yes.
I'm not sure that he would ally with the flood again if he is truly coming back, which with all the opportunities that have been missed by the writers to bring him back, I don't know that he would come back anyway. I mean, I guess there's always a random possibility, but you never know. But it would be interesting to see an AI of that much power go against Cortana. Well, you have mendicant bias, and then there's offensive bias out there that we don't know for sure he was destroyed when the flood attacked the Greater Ark. I mean, it's theorized that he was destroyed, but I don't think it was ever actually confirmed. So there are powerful Forerunner AIs still out there that could go against Cortana. That, I don't know, you could probably work Atriox into somehow. I don't know. Yeah, he definitely will not ally with the flood because the flood wanted to eat him.
Nom nom nom. Give me all your knowledge.
Nom 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 nom.
Nom 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 nom. Yeah. There's a lot of open doors that have been created within the Halo universe, especially since Halo 3. With all the external fiction that's been thrown just within the games. You don't even have to necessarily look at the books, just the games themselves. There's been a lot of loose ends that could be brought back into the fold pretty easily.
Oh, yeah. There are plenty of plot holes and questions that should be answered or that need to be answered that have remained unanswered.
It's like, we know that this is a dark part of the universe and we want to know stuff about it, but we don't know about it. It's like, please give us something.
But you won't tell us.
I know. Hold Grim hostage in a room. Be like, tell us or else we're not letting you out. No wing dome at PAX Prime.
I think that would be considered cruel and unusual punishment.
Definitely unusual, that's for sure. Yeah. There's another part with all the Phoenix logs too. We actually get a nice little timeline of stuff that happened during the game. I think about half the logs kind of take place over the course of the game. So you see Professor Anders have a few logs in there. You have a few of the banished units have logs. I think there's a couple from the Shipmaster. There's a couple from Ungoy or some of the units. And then you have 6 of them that are the Rise of Atriox. That's the Oni report. And so let me throw this out there. Any theories, this goes out to the chat too, and to anyone that's listening to us via download, send us in a submission or hit us up on social media. Who do you think S and D are in the Phoenix logs?
Oh, so many possibilities.
So it's in Oni, and I don't know, or at least when I was going through the logs, there was no names that came to mind for an S and D combination. So I honestly have no clue where to even begin thinking about possibilities on who it could be.
Well, the S and that doesn't necessarily need to be part of an existing character's name either.
No, but traditionally those kinds of things have been teased in such a way where we probably know some of those characters already. Sully? I mean, S could be Sully.
There could be clues in the text of what is written too, not just the names. Erikibu and Futch. S could be surgeon. That is a name that has been used before in previous Oni communiques.
This is true.
Which in those communiques, they don't indicate who they are other than their code name. There are theories on who they are. Yes. I mean, we are talking about Oni here. Really?
Grim is Oni. Ascended Justice folks are Oni.
There are clues in there. We just have to find them and understand what they mean. Because they didn't write this stuff. They wrote this stuff to point you in a direction. They just don't tell you which direction that is.
And I am not a sleuth enough to have that deductive mindset, which is why I rely on others to do that for me.
I mean, I get theories, but I don't have the patience or the time to investigate them. That's why I kind of like listening to Hidden Xperia, because the depth of research that he puts into his videos when he starts talking about different characters and things, or his theories on where things are going or what things have happened are just so mind-boggling. By the way, if you haven't checked him out, I would check him out on YouTube.
Hidden Xperia and Tour Freak, I would say, are the two best lore-focused YouTube channels to check out. Hands down.
Definitely.
Let's see. Anything else that you want to bring up in the campaign, GT? I know I kind of talked a lot off, so I want to give you a chance to bring up some stuff if you want.
Let's see. Is there anything specific I want to talk about? The blur cutscenes were awesome. Oh,
as always. Favorite one, because there's only 7 of them. Favorite cutscene.
Oh, favorite cutscene? Easily the speech with Cutter.
I was going to say the same thing.
There is no competition. The speech with Cutter. The one where Isabel and Jerome are talking, or is it Douglas? Jerome, whatever.
I think it's Jerome.
Yeah, when they're on the Covenant or the Banished ship, to which I love the way they took out the ship.
Yes, that was a very good way to do that. I think that was very Halo-esque.
My favorite line is Isabel's line in that cutscene about rules. This place has rules, and we're going to break them.
Although I thought the line with the whole, we're going to show them what power really means around here, that seemed a little cheesy to me.
It did.
That was the only line of dialogue that I had like a reaction to.
Coming from Isabel, it wasn't as irritating as if it would be coming from a seasoned veteran.
True.
I mean, if it was Cortana delivering the line, then it would be like,
yeah.
You have a logistics AI, basically a civilian, and she breaks into a Covenant carrier or destroyer or whatever it is, and with Anders' help hacks the freaking Ark. I like the one line in there about how she's going to break the rules. That rates right up there with bet you can't stick it. It's just the attitude behind the lines. But you actually mentioned something last week. The voices that she heard.
Yeah, so I actually watched that cutscene again to kind of help clear up some of the stuff. But go ahead.
No, I wanted to know, what did you come up with? What is your theory they are?
So my theory is they were the voices of all the people that she was meant to protect that were screaming out, and there were replays of when the Banished first attacked.
That's exactly what I thought.
Okay. That after listening through it again, it seemed like it was just kind of a replay in her mind of what happened when the Banished first attacked. Well,
I mean, the last time you were kind of questioning what it was, so I wanted to see if you actually had come to a decision.
Yep, I have. It's pretty easy and straightforward.
But the way she's moving around the Covenant computer system, like, I want that.
That's all fancy Hollywood stuff.
I want that. Yes, it's like a girl walking down walking through Beverly Hills. Ooh, I want that one. Ooh, I want that one. But
I'll take that. I'll take that. I'll take that.
I like how they did all the characters. I mean, some of the dialogue in the loading screens seemed a little dry. It seemed like in the loading screens, there was a lot less personality in the delivery of the lines, but I still enjoyed them. And the reason I enjoyed them is they really fit into the story. They weren't just listing objectives. They were telling a story. How the only thing I would say is if they were a little bit more passionate about their story when they were telling you about this, it would have made the loading screens a lot more entertaining.
Yeah, it did a good job at least explaining what was happening on the level. I would have liked to have seen a few more cutscenes, but it is what it is.
Well, Blur's getting more expensive every year.
You'd think that Microsoft would have acquired them by now.
You never know. Blur might be saying, nope, we're having too much fun.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure they are.
I would have liked to have seen more cutscenes, but the ones they delivered were awesome in their quality, and I enjoyed the length of them. The ones in the original Halo Wars always struck me as a little short.
The cutscenes? Well, that was Blur's first time doing Halo was Halo Wars, right?
Yeah, I'm not knocking them. They for the time, well, even today, they're still great cutscenes. I like in these, we did get fewer of them, but they got a lot more story in each cutscene. It just seems like to me, I got more out of the cutscenes in this game than I did in the original Halo Wars.
Fair enough. It's been a while since I've gone through the campaign, so I can't make my own judgment on that. But yeah, okay, I could see where that'd be a difference between the original game and this game.
So yes, we did get fewer cutscenes, but I can't complain about the story they told because they did a good job, and they did a good job with kind of bringing the player into the game and getting them caught up. They could have done a little bit more on that first opening cutscene, but they did a good job. It's something that it's not an overload of information, but it gets you up to speed to where you need to be. It explains why Serena's not there. It explains why the crew's waking up partially. They're just not magically awake. I can't think of what I was going to say, but I liked it. It was a lot better than like Halo 4, where they kind of just threw you into it.
Well, Halo 4, all the cutscenes were in game except for the first and last scenes of the game.
Well, I'm just talking cutscenes in general. In Halo 4, there was a lot of information in the cutscene, but it was not a lot of it pertained to the game. So you kind of started the game and you almost felt a little unprepared unless you already had been reading the external fiction. Where this one, I think they did a good job with saying, okay, this is what happened. This is where they are now.
I'd agree. One other cutscene piece that I really liked too was whenever Isabel was done firing the cleansing beam of the banished ship, and she's asking, what are we going to do? And Douglas or Jerome say, you're going to hang on. And then she's just like freaking out as he jumps out of the ship and just starts flying back down towards the Ark.
Yeah.
That was a cool cutscene.
Yeah, that was a good cutscene too.
She's like, wait, what are you doing? Wait, what? It's just like the Spartan doesn't miss a beat and she's just going all crazy.
That kind of reminded me of the first mission in Halo CE. The first time you take health damage. Hey, don't forget there's two of us in here now.
Yeah. That was a nice little add-on, I think, for there. It added a little bit of character to it. And Pin saying, why do Spartans always jump? Because for bricks, they fly pretty good.
Yeah. They fly pretty good for a brick.
For a brick, he flew pretty good. Johnson had the best one-liners ever.
I was sad to see him go.
Laird's saying, though, that John DiMaggio, the voice actor behind Atriox, recorded more lines recently, apparently. So there's going to be more Atriox dialogue, possibly more cutscenes, maybe more blur stuff.
Could be.
Possibly.
Maybe. I mean, the campaigns, some of the missions will have to have intros.
Or just do a main intro, outro for the DLC stuff, and then you have voiceover for the bits that's in the campaign. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because there are a couple of parts on the last mission or last two missions where you heard Atriox speaking to Cutter. So we'll see what that brings to fruition. Anything else you want to bring up campaign-wise?
No, I think that pretty much covers it.
So we'll dig into a little bit more lore stuff, deeper into that stuff with special guests on and whatnot. So I think we've had Toa Freak on before, so I may reach out to Hidden Xperia to see if I can get him on the podcast in the coming weeks. We can have some lore discussion. I figured that would be a nice new face to add to the podcast guest book. Doesn't wrap it up for us tonight, then. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. Remember, you can check us out on Twitch. We record live on Tuesday nights at 9 p.m. over on twitch.tv/Podtacular. And we also record our game night, or not record, but we broadcast game nights on Friday nights starting at 8:30, hosted by Godzilla T. And I've also been streaming my Halo Wars 2 campaign, which I mentioned earlier. I finished. I'm going to be going through and doing all the bonus objectives and eventually be doing Legendary. And I'm going to be looking for community help to get me through the Legendary missions. And I'll be streaming that as well. So if you're interested in helping me out, then let me know and I'll stream that. And I'm sure Godzilla T would like some help as well. And have you been streaming some stuff on your own personal channel lately? I can't remember if you were or not.
No, I actually haven't been lately because I haven't been playing.
Okay.
Honestly, Friday was the first time that I've played last week. I've been having a rough week.
I don't blame you, dude.
And this one just started and it ain't exactly going great. But yeah, I probably will. When I get ready to do my Legendary run on Halo Wars, I probably will stream that on my own channel. You can find me at Godzilla T on Twitch.
Cool.
I do generally put out a tweet if I can remember. So if you want to follow me at Godzilla Todd on Twitter, and Dust is kind enough to have me auto-hosted on Podtacular, so you can stay tuned there as well when I'm streaming, and you can get to my channel through the Podtacular channel. The Legendary run is going to be interesting.
Yes, it is.
My first run through, I'll probably do it solo, just to do it by myself. I've always...
Legendary?
Yeah, I've always kind of prided myself on completing all the games Legendary by myself. Now, granted, Halo 2 took me 7 years, but hey.
I might need to improve my own RTS skills before I attempt my own Legendary run of Halo Wars 2 on my own.
Well, like I said, that's why I'm kind of spending as much time as I am on easy and grinding for all the collectibles and things like that. Because as I'm doing that, I'm developing my Legendary strategies, learning what the required objectives are and what triggers what, things like that. Like there is one level where you have to capture points, but if you go kill the banished base first, then you can capture the points with no opposition.
Gotcha.
So you can capture and hold the points, and you just kind of sit there and wait for the clock to run out. I don't know that works on Legendary, but it might be a strategy. There are things that I'm making note of mentally when I'm playing through the campaign right now, so to help me on my Legendary run. But after I complete my Legendary run, I may or may not be available to help someone make it through a mission or two on Legendary.
I'll keep that in mind. I appreciate it.
I honestly don't know how the co-op system works in Halo Wars 2. If it works like it did in the first one,
oh yeah,
it could be useful, or it could be just a pain.
Well, if they have the difficulty ramp up like it does in Halo 5, it's definitely going to be a pain. But I didn't even think about that. You're right. We'll see how that plays out. You can check us out on our other social media platforms. We are also on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and we have our own Discord server. You can head on over to any one of those by going to podtacular.com/whatever that you're trying to get to. And if we have it, it will redirect you. You can also check out our podcast network. We are part of the podcast.com, which hosts other shows like Guardian Radio, Critscast, The Learning Cliff, Podcast 76, Work in Progress, and How to Murder Time. You can head on over to thepodcast.com, that is podcast with a K, and let them know that we sent you. Next week, we'll be back talking a little bit more about the campaign, see if we can get Hidden Xperia on, and we are going to be ramping up our coverage for the Halo World Championship, which is coming up here in just a little over 2 weeks. That's coming up quick. Oh yeah, so 2.5, it's a week and a half away. This is the World Championship. So we'll be ramping that up a little bit. I will be over there. No pins. We're not doing a MySpace. Go with the times already. So I'll be out there trying to get some interviews and seeing what's going on with all the pro teams, with a particular focus on the international teams. But if there's any teams that you want us to interview or get the audio bit from, then let us know. Also, let us know how your Halo Wars 2 experience is going. Share it with us over on social media, on Facebook or Twitter, or shoot us an email to submissions@podtacular.com, and whatever we get, we'll share it on the podcast. Thanks for listening tonight, everybody. We will talk to you next week. Keep on fragging Guardians because they're back.